Good evening, all. So, we are here today to speak about a fresh topic children and behavioral modification. And I feel that's the need of the hour right now. And the increasing opportunities for us to interact and work with students is also being facilitated by the government. There have been central government orders from a very long time, many years back, for us to counselors, people from the mental health profession to take up roles to take care of the mental health of school students. And it was made mandatory in CBSE, ICSE schools in their curriculum. It was like mandatory to have a counselor. And I have worked on some government projects earlier in schools, though the school did not directly employ us. We had an opportunity to work through the NGOs. And now I think it's made like a kind of compulsion wherever there are students more than 100. Count is more than 100. We're supposed to employ a counselor, any institution, being it school or a college. So that's what it is. And today we are going to address a few important areas. And in this journey of working with students and bringing academic improvements and behavioral improvements, we are working as a team. Many of you who have joined might be knowing me. I'm Swati Priya, counseling psychologist and expressive arts therapist. So, along with me today, Suhana is present with us, and Navina is present with us. So, I would just like each of you to speak about your area of interest, your expertise, and what you aspire to do. Just quick introduction. Anyone can go ahead. Yeah, yes, Naveen. Navina, your mic is on. All right, Suhana, you can go. Then Navina can go.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. So, good evening, everyone. Myself, Suhana. I recently graduated in MSc Counseling Psychology. So, during the part of my course, I had experience working in a school for like 8 months as a trainee counselor. And I've also done online counseling for like 8 to 9 months now under supervision. So, yeah, that's it.
You're done. Thank you. Can we have Navina to speak?
Yeah, ma'am, am I audible now?
Yes,
I'm
you
sorry
are.
for that again. Yeah. So, hi all. Good evening. I am Navina. I completed my bachelor's in psychology and did my master's in social work with a clinical social work specialization. And my interest area is to bring in inclusivity among different spaces. There's not anything specific where whichever project that I do, I try to include inclusivity, be it maybe age or maybe could be gender. Mostly, I'm inclined towards gender, and youth resilience and women resilience is something that I'm really passionate about. Also, behavioral strategies is something that I'm really more interested in. So, yes, that's a short introduction about me. Looking forward to the session. Thank you.
Thank you. So let's begin with our topic. So, from what I have experienced as working as a school counselor, I've just put on some points here on the kind of behavioral problems and challenges that children in their day to day life are facing. Certain things could be maladjustment with teachers, not going by the instruction or not listening to them. Many teachers have to invest a lot of energy to make a child listen to what they're saying, especially in the primary. So I think every age group, whether it is primary or middle school, it can be high school, or it can be higher secondary, but the challenges which teachers can face and go through will be different, but there are challenges. Maybe sometimes people may tend to underestimate the primary teachers, but I feel that there's a lot of energy to be put on by primary teachers in order to get children to sit, work, and for them to to get their attention and make them do a particular task. If there's an absence of a shadow teacher, it becomes even more difficult. The kind of voice and the kind of fights and whatever no happens within the classroom, to keep them settled, the teacher really needs to be skilled. At least the parent is maintaining maybe one or two children at home, but in the case of teachers, it is too much for them to the strength may be 30 plus, 35 plus, so it becomes very difficult. Similarly, children can be maladjusted with their own classmates. No, even like problems with sitting next to each other, disturbing each other. Maybe one child disturbs the other, not allows the other child to, who's willing to listen to class, to not listen by whatever distraction. It is not the child does it on purpose, but there could be an underlying reason of why that particular child is behaving that way. And back answering elders again. It can happen with the teachers, it can happen with parents, anyone for that matter. And then one thing that thought I should bring to your notice is about certain games which children can play without their knowledge. They could be quite innocent. They might not, maybe they're not looking at it in terms of sexual behavior. I'm talking about very young children who can be from the primary sector. Maybe they're not aware about what they're doing, but there could be some games which they play, which are brought to the notice of counselors most of the time. When such behaviors are, like, for example, the among the boys, I'm only giving examples what I have dealt with. There could be a set of boys who are playing a game by touching each other's private part. They're in the playground when they are given some activity to do, some kind of game they are allocated to do. In the middle of that, they start playing this game, or I don't know exactly whether it like started there or on the way back to the classroom they started playing this game, and they were caught by the teacher, and the teacher takes them to the coordinator, and the boys involved with it and whoever initiated this game was brought to the counselor, who was me at that time in that particular school. Similarly, in another school, like this particular school incident, this touching each other's private part game happened in a co-education school. In another girls' school, there is this particular game with which a few set of children were playing. It is like the name of the game is marriage. So in marriage game, what they do is they play this game when class is going on. Maybe it can, mostly they chose maths period, I don't know what was the reason. Maybe they did not like that period, or that subject was difficult for them, or for whatever reason they mostly chose the maths period to play this game. Marriage game will be like, they listen to the bell, and the bell can be, the timing can be different sometimes for the primary, for the middle school, for the high school it can be different. So the sound of a bell is generally the indication for the time to tie the thali. It's a kind of game, imaginary game which they're playing. They can use a thread or whatever it is, and they're tying the thali. And then what happens is, immediately they're going to the next step where, um, one child is kissing the other child. The other child is like hugging the other child, and they continue this kind of games in the washroom as well. So they're caught by the teacher when they're exhibiting this kind of behavior in the classroom. Am I audible? If I'm audible, please put a thumbs up. Thank you. Please check your device, madam. All right. So this is a kind of game that the child played. In both the cases, like when you work with them as a counselor, when I work with them, I come to know at one point from where they learned that behavior, or how they chose to indulge in that kind of a game. And then to the intention of sending the children to a counselor and the counselor working with them is not a punishment, so it's very important for them to understand that fact. And we're working on modifying the behavior, how well we can try to tune them. And I always feel that molding children is very easy. Anyone in school is like more easy to mold children compared to adults who are already products of their brought up, whatever. So children are like, no, yet to experience their adulthood. And even before that, if there is an opportunity where the behavior can be worked, where we will be able to make the changes, then it's quite obvious that that can be changed. And from my own experience I tell you that whatever kind of behavior that child is into, if we work persistently with them, when you're part of an institution, even when it is your counseling for a student in your clinical setup, maybe it depends upon how regularly the parents are bringing that child for a review. But when you're working in an institution, it's very easy for us to have reviews with the children, provided the management is supportive of the counselor. Once a week, once in 2 weeks, we can meet up with the child. We can give them the kind of activities or whatever is necessary for that particular child, depending upon their problem or whatever they are facing. We will be able to bring a change in the child, which is definitely possible. And school refusal. I recently had a case where the boy is refusing to go to the school. It's a boy of 10 years or 11 years, I believe. The reason is he wants to sit at home to play video games. So he wants to play video games, and just because you want to play video games and you cannot play video games when you go to school, this particular boy is refusing to go to school. So this is one, no, an example of school refusal, a behavioral problem. Some children can have separation anxiety. Sometimes when parents have conflicts between them, the child is witnessing it. The child may not verbally express it, but the child will be thinking that once I go out of the house, maybe my mother will go away from home. Maybe my mother will go to, maybe the father would have, maybe I'm just giving an example, maybe if he raises the voice in front of the child and asks the mother to leave the house, go to your mother's place, or something like he says. Okay, then what happens is the child is quite innocent to process it. They both can, after a period of time, get along with each other. That moment they're expressing it, but the child doesn't understand the process. So according to the child, something harmful is going to happen, and my mother is going to leave me and go away. So that there is a kind of insecurity and separation anxiety which the child develops, and so the child may have this need to be more closer to the mother or the home, and is scared to go outside leaving the parents. So these kind of things we have seen. And sometimes when you're changing from one school to the other school, they are not able to adapt to the new environment, and there will be school refusal sometimes. So this is one of the problems. Self harm, I think nowadays the number of cutting cases became more, is becoming more. It was more also. Not only nowadays, I would say, 6 years back it was very common. 6 7 years back, I was frequently getting these kind of cases. Cutting is like taking a sharp instrument like a blade and cutting the hand, not attempting suicide, but just uh, like scientifically when we look into it, it's like very painful for me. And whatever I'm going through is very painful for me. It could be something of which we feel can be trivial for us, but for that individual, that is a very big problem. Maybe that individual had a crush on someone else, and maybe the crush rejected this person. They cannot take that rejection, so they're indulging in self-harm behavior, like cutting the hand with a blade. And sometimes, you know what they do, in the beginning immediate sessions, they will not get comfortable to share. Generally people who are doing self harm, they will not come for counseling by themselves. Maybe their classmate brings them. There could be a friend who's really interested in the welfare of this particular girl or boy. And I've seen this very common among girls compared to boys. I'm only talking about my work experience. And no, so immediately they won't reveal about what it is and why they are doing that, because it's like very deep. Initially everything like on the surface comes, until we are able to reach to the root cause of why it happened, for what it happened. And some children who had access to drugs, some children who had access to drugs at one point of time, when they had to refrain from it, indulged in self harm. Especially like in Chennai, I know that because I'm a born and brought up Chennai person, I know that this is like easily accessible, available, and nowadays. But in Coimbatore, only now I think due to certain incidents, after certain incidents and the increase in crime rates, they've made it very strict that even when you go to a medical shop to buy a cough syrup or to buy an antidepressant or a sleep medicine with the doctor prescription, they make sure that you give them a Xerox copy of that, and they call the doctor, they call the hospital and find out if this is what they prescribed and whether they can give that medicine to them. So they've become that strict. Why? Because these kind of drugs, these kind of medicines were sold out, and they were used for getting a hike, for getting for the similar kind of whatever narcotic or some other drug can give them. It was giving them some similar effects. the constitution of this particular medicine can give them that kind of hype. So they want that body. So instead of using some other substance like nicotine weed, they're also trying this along with it. Maybe we don't know what they're exactly doing, but people are using it for the purpose of enjoyment, not for committing suicide or self harm or whatever. So that because such incidents happened, the government had taken the necessary action to cut them all, and that number of drug peddlers were becoming more. And I can see the drop in all that past 1 year. Previously, it was quite different. I'm telling based on the kind of information I received from people I generally work with on a day-to-day basis. And picking picking is a decent way to put it, but it is actually stealing, because we don't like to label children as the child stole, you are stealing. We don't use that word because it can be very offensive for a child to hear that word. It can be painful too, so we call it as picking. So it's not that somebody is very poor and that is why they are stealing from someone else. Not at all like that. Even children in affluent school can steal things from other people. It's not that immediately we need to say that that particular child has kleptomania. It's not like that. No, kleptomania is that urge to pick things, steal things, and put it in their uh, bag or whatever. It can be like something very simple. For example, why a particular fifth standard, a set of fifth standard children were picking pens from other children's pencil box when they went for some other class. Maybe they went for music class outside, they went to the sports ground. So these children will do this kind of a job when no one else is there in class. They'll have a collection of different pens, and they're caught by the teacher and then referred for counseling. When I just spoke with them, I came to know that it is a game which they are playing. So in this game, they just want to have a collection of different models of pens. It's not that it's not affordable for them to buy. It's only that they were thinking that it is a game, and they did not realize that it is a really bad habit, and they are not aware of the consequences of the behavior. So these children must be 9 or 10 years old, and I think it's our responsibility to educate them. We need to educate them, not shame them, not put them down or call them a thief and hurt them. But we have a bigger responsibility in reforming these children, and that's why we are here in this mental health profession. Speaking lies. For example, some children are put in a situation where they generally speak lies. Why? Because I can just give you a small example. A child likes the aunt more than the mother. It's a joint family, and it's that particular woman's co-sister whom this her child is very fond of. So, what this child does is the child as young as 5 or 6 years. Wherever the child goes, the child sees something new, or when she visits a new place, the child immediately takes a photograph of it and sends it to the aunt. So this woman is really gets offended of this kind of behavior done by this child. That aunt is also again reciprocating, and she's like quite kind to her child, like however she is to her children. So, out of some insecurity, one more thing is that in this joint family, this woman goes for work. This woman's co sister is at home. So, most of the time, she is taking care of the child. So, that bond between that person and the child is a little maybe closer, emotionally closer, or the child is expressing the genuine love. So this child gets reprimanded every time this child is communicating something to the aunt. So the mother gets offended and she scolds the child to not do such things. As a result, what happens is the child is not wanting to stop that behavior because the child is unable to like control, because the child wants to share every day. I am with that aunt. That aunt is giving me bath, that aunt is picking me up from school, that aunt is giving me the kind of care, that aunt is teaching me. So all that she's doing until you come back from work. So like I'm again I go back home, like when you're busy, maybe she's putting me to sleep or whatever. So I have this kind of a connectivity to her, and I like her. Above all, I like her. So, when you give these kind of strict instructions to your child to not do this, the child will not listen. No. So, this aunt also is not aware that the mother is doing this. So, innocently, the aunt goes and speaks in front of the mother that. Kanna, whatever photo you sent me was so beautiful. Did you do it by yourself? Some model or something that girl had sent, the child had sent the aunt. So like when she was asking, ரொம்ப beautiful பண்ணிருக்க, so nice, and when she was telling all that, the child immediately says that I did not send you any photo. Uh, and when the child goes to the mother's parents house, grandparents house, from there she makes a call to this aunt and talks. And one day this child calls that aunt, but this aunt is she misses that call, so she calls back after 5 or 10 minutes. Then the child picks the call. The aunt knows very well that the child is the one who's called the aunt. And then she asks, கண்ணா நீ கால் பண்ணியா அப்படின்னா, நோ நோ நான் பண்ணவே இல்லை அந்த மாதிரி. No. So but later on the aunt comes to know that yeah, the child is doing it, but why is the child telling me lies? That's because later on she comes to know that the mother has instructed her to do that. So now who's putting that child in a position to say lies? What mistake did this child do here in this particular scenario? If you had that kind of bonding with your child will automatically come to you. And by any means, your biological child cannot become someone else's biological child. When you have an insecurity with your own child, then it is something for me to look in within myself. That mother has to like see what where she is lagging, rather than scolding the child for what the child is doing naturally. And bad words, I think media influences and the elder, especially boys who are speaking bad words. Elderly children can be teaching them, or as a game, they want them to scold each other with bad words. Such things, like such cases have come to me. It happens in the school van, it happens in the school bus. Even if it's a private van, such things happen. Then some children complain about the others who did this to them. No, bad language, they can learn from media, whatever. Even cartoons. Even from cartoons, they can learn bad language. Excessive anger outbursts. When you take away the phone from me, I cannot tolerate it. A seventh standard boy puts full force and he breaks the handle. If you look at him, he'll be very pony and tiny. But that much anger that I cannot control when you do this to me, I cannot take it. That kind of things. These are some of the examples of behavioral problems that on a day to day basis we are seeing what children are facing. And for us, it's very important to know the root cause of why these such things are happening, so that we can help and do the needful. Modeling a parental figure. So when I'm behaving sometimes in an unruly way, it can be that I'm modeling a father. I could be modeling a grandmother. The same kind of language they use. No, some are not very good in communication, in the sense they can use very negative statements within the family, which the child is hearing. They don't treat other people well. They display it in front of the child. Maybe the child saw it from birth, because the immediate social circle for a child is the parents, the immediate family. So it could be a parental figure can be anyone. It can be a coach, it can be a teacher, it can be their favorite uncle, it can be their favorite aunt. From someone, they are copying it. Emotional disturbance, yeah, emotional disturbances can happen because of various reasons. It depends upon that particular what that particular individual's histories, in terms of family or in terms of health, or in terms of what is happening among friends. It can be as simple as something that the child is not able to get enough marks, or the child got fail mark, and the child is being mocked by every other person in school and home. It's an emotional disturbance for a child. Access without supervision to internet and gadgets. It's very saddening that some children are allowed to use gadgets without any supervision, where they have access to the internet. They can get into any kind of porn sites, and they can see things which they're not supposed to see. I know a child as young as 8 years, fourth standard boy, who saw some kind of adult content. And how did he get the chance to see that adult content is, there is some separation between the mother and the father. So he is living only with the father. So for the father to get back from work, it becomes 8 or 9. Till then, this child is alone at home. So the child is sitting there with books, TV, computer, internet. So the child saw something and went and shared it with one of the other classmate. And then that boy goes and tells to his favorite teacher. Then this boy is into gets into trouble, and he is referred for counseling for behavioral modification. So these are some reasons. I'm just giving you just one example. Lack of guidance. Somebody should there to mentor children, to supervise children, to guide them in today's world, when they have too much of exposure to unwanted things more than what is wanted. Without parental supervision or classroom supervision, if you're just letting them be whatever they are, very easily they can get into negative stuff which is around us. Wrong friendship. It is very important for us to know whom our child is making friendship with. However, our friend is, so are we. I think this is applicable for us also. So, generally, we make friends with people who are more like us, like kind of birds of the same feather flock together. So, my kind of people I'm able to blend well with. But if something is not very comfortable for me, then I don't get along with those kind of people. But when it is children, there is this peer pressure. Because of peer pressure, they're put in a situation where they need to oblige to that particular group of friends. Otherwise, they feel that they'll be left alone. If I have to be part of this particular friends group, then this is what is expected from me. Whether it's healthy behavior or unhealthy behavior, though I can differentiate between good and bad, I'm just sustaining and I'm keeping in this relationship because I don't want to lose the friendship of these people. So that could be one of the reason. So it's very important for us to keep watchful over what kind of people, I mean, who are the people whom our child is having friendship with. And it's okay if like we can also have a rapport with those children. We can when they are invited home, or when your child visits their home, because nowadays partying is culture even for birthdays. It's not like how it was some 10-15 years back. Now it's like whenever there's a birthday party, they invite their fellow classmates, and they celebrate it the way they want it, they like to be celebrated. There's more of space and freedom for children. And also the lifestyle changes which we are bringing in the society. And as I told you, media influence, and there are many movies with a lot of bad language, lot of bad language. And sometimes there is beep, sometimes there is no beep. And the child might not even know the meaning of fuck word, but there are many children who use that word. The child is maybe not aware of showing the middle finger, for what purpose they are showing the middle finger, but the child is showing it. As young as third standard, fourth standard, fifth standard, they're doing it. And cartoon, there was a very surprisingly, there was a cartoon channel which my nephew watches. In that, most of the jokes are about the animals farting, passing gas, and that's a big joke. And showing the middle finger in that cartoon, they're showing the middle finger, and there are some character animals who are like shitting, and in that particular the game, they need to like catch the shit in a bowl. So how the child moves the cup is the game, whether it's exactly able to catch the shit. So I was very shocked to see that it just popped up. He didn't search. He doesn't have, he's only 4 years old. He doesn't have that much of knowledge to go search for it. And so something comes up, he just on it, and he's left alone with the caretaker. So, like, when I am there, I supervise him. And my parents are quite old, and he knows more of technology than my parents. He can teach my parents. He's that much equipped to go into YouTube, whatever. No, he knows. Even when it is the TV, he operates it better than my parents. Daily news your child hears very often. So many times when there is a suicide which happens, every news channel, every YouTube channel is constantly talking about negative stuff. So what are you like? You're putting the thought on that particular child that when you're too frustrated, it's okay, commit suicide. See, the child who wanted to become a doctor, uh, and she couldn't crack the NEET, she committed suicide. I'm nowhere belittling Anita, but I'm just trying to say that when children are listening to these stories and things, they also feel that நீட்டா வேண்டாம்ப்பா அப்புறம் அனிதா மாதிரி சாக வேண்டியது தான். We'll also die like Anita. Why should we die? Will let us go for engineering. So this is the impact. This is the impact that such cases have created. But people who do not have awareness of that are promoting it, speaking more and more about that. Maybe if we could have got an opportunity to counsel that child to take up something else. Maybe something like to have a second career choice is not wrong. Even to children, when we are coaching them on career counseling, we teach them to have a second career choice. When your dream choice is not working, then what would be your second option? What would be a third option? It's okay. One doesn't work. I can be good in two or three areas. I can be good in science. If I'm not good at maths, maybe I'm good at literature. Maybe I can be good at commerce and management also. And I think it's all about what the society has created, the image society has created, that if you study science and maths group, then you're someone who will study very well. If you are taking commerce and management, you are someone who doesn't who's very mediocre in studies. If someone goes for humanities or economics, they're considered as people students who don't study well. It's not at all like that. It's a misconception. Many children who scored above 90 percentage in 10th standard were my students in humanities, where I took psychology for them for 11 and 12. Yeah. And onset of, so I think like even the media needs to be responsible. There are many children who are watching. If a cook has an affair with someone, we don't have to always 24 bar 7 be talking about that affair. So, what information are we always sending to people? Be interested in somebody else's household affairs. Be interested in somebody else's personal life. And it's not necessary for many people. It's their personal life. They're doing whatever it is. What do we have in this? So many YouTubers who are talking about it. What business they have to talk about it? Maybe they're trying to make more money by promoting their channel, or they're doing it for some likes or whatever it is. So, which is not necessary for the younger generation. Why do we need it? Onset of personality disorder. In some rare cases, if someone is not able to adapt to the situation, if they are not able to be, I mean, if they're maladaptive in whatever setup they put in a classroom setup, in the playground, with the teachers, with the parents, with friends, then there could be a chance that the particular child can have these onset characteristic traits of personality disorder, because any kind of major mental illnesses generally begin during adolescence. During the onset of adolescence, some traits they will show, and it's not in every case. In very rare cases, it's like that. Others can be various other reasons also, which you also might be knowing. Maybe we'll discuss about it later. So, what are certain things that we can do in order to rectify whatever is happening? Every significant adult in the life of the child should take responsibility. As a counselor, I will have my responsibility in whichever, I mean, school I'm working, or in my clinic, whichever child I'm meeting, or children in my own family. I have a responsibility. Similarly, each of us here have a responsibility. You can be a teacher, you can be a parent, you can be anyone who's working with children or who have children around you. You have a responsibility. Introducing the real world. So rather than always keeping our children within four walls, and they're juggling between Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, or whatever, let them spend time with the real world. Real world is they can have 1001 friends on Facebook, but who's your real friend? Whom you can really play with? You can physically play with. It would be someone in the neighborhood. Please give the required supervision and allow your child to play every day. Play can be a very big healer, and it's really good for your child to give better academic performance also. Teaching life skills to children is very important, and that's why I think made it part of the curriculum in few schools where I have worked, CBSE schools, ICSE schools as well. This circle time life skills period is utilized for teaching children skills like assertive communication without hurting the other person, and I don't want to compromise on my needs as well, but still, how do I execute it is something that we can teach them. How to speak, the way how I need to communicate, it can be my teacher. Still, I can politely tell my teacher what I really feel. It can be my parent. I don't have to be scared, but I can only have respect on people around me. I don't have to be scared of my teacher or my parent or any elder, but with due respect, I speak to them about what I genuinely feel, using the right kind of words, using the right kind of body language, negotiation skills also. So it's not that I need to like accept on everything. Suppose if my family makes a choice after 10th standard that I need to study science, but I'm not someone who's interested in science, and someone who's wanting to go for business studies. So then I can speak, I can express that this is something which I really like. I can talk about successful people in that field, and I can also get checked myself with a psychometric test whether I will score good for that particular area of expertise. But the thing is to convince the parents without using aggression, raising the voice, and showing unruly behavior. If we are able to teach them how to talk, then it would be very helpful for them to lead their lives. So it's very important for the parent to know your child's daily schedule. There are some parents who don't know what their child's schedule is. Maybe the caretaker knows more about what the schedule of the child is, but the parent doesn't know. Both the parents are very busy. They are not able to give time to their children. And I think one negative behavior of parents could be is they will be watching TV, they will be watching some serial, but they will force their children to get into the room and sit and study. So, what will the child feel is when you are entitled to sit and watch, why am I not allowed to sit and watch? If that is interesting to you, to me also that is interesting. Why are you not letting me? So I think we need to cultivate some habits where we are also maybe sitting and reading a book, or we are also doing some office work when the child is doing their homework, or when they are sitting and studying. I am also doing something productive. You are also doing something productive. It is like very wrong when I am into entertainment and I force the other person to go and sleep or study. ராத்திரி 10 மணிக்கு மேலே if I ask my child to not watch TV and go to sleep, then I can't send them inside the room and ask them to sleep, and I cannot keep sitting and watching TV. Some parents do it, and I think that is not acceptable. That is not the right kind of thing to do. We are serving as wrong role models. Don't take your child for A certified movies. Many children. Recently, I watched this movie in the theater of Coolie. Coolie is a certified movie where there's lot of aggression, very violent scenes, blood, and such things which children should not see. And very sadly, uh, next to me, I had a child who was sitting there, and that particular theater had provided cushions for seats where children are seated. They let the child in, they've taken a ticket for the child, and you offer pillows, and that child is doing something without watching the screen. The parents are forcing the child to watch the movie. Padam paru, padam paru. Padam paru means what is the child going to understand and what information is that child going to gain from it. The child can only look at the pictures, or if there is a song, at least the child will watch and enjoy. We don't know how much is the uh, appropriateness of the clothing people are wearing in that song and the body movements they are doing in that song. Mostly nowadays, children are getting entertainment from item songs. So, if my child has to eat food, I'm just putting on this particular dance of some particular actress who's doing an item dance because the music is good, the dance is different, so it is attractive for the child. I don't think that is the right thing for us to do. Provide the facility to meet up with the student counselor. There are many things that even we as a child we couldn't have like spoken about it openly to our parents. We couldn't have spoken it to our teachers. So like whom will we go and speak about it to? Sometimes maybe my friend is only giving me the trouble. Sometimes we'll speak with a friend, but the friend is not an adult. The friend is also a child. Whatever knowledge that child has, only that child can give you. And sometimes maybe that friend is only that problem. So whom will the child go and talk to? So, if schools can make the provisions for children to get permission and meet up with a student counselor, that will be the best option. If there is provided there's a compulsory school counselor. If not, the parents can take an initiative to get an appointment and meet up with a student counselor and bring the child regularly for review. That is very important. Enroll your child in a school which focuses on the overall development of your child. That is very important because, like many parents, maybe are focusing on marks, which is the school producing best results. So, like the session which we had previously, marks cannot define your child. Marks are just numbers, and even like today, when you recollect, there's nothing to do in connect with what you're doing in your real life and your marks. There could be average students who are doing very well in careers, professions today. There can be students who have scored always in distinction who are doing nothing. Or if they're women, sometimes they end up being homemakers. So, overall development of my child, mental health, physical health, and to know worldly things, to learn life skills, to be part of sports, to be part of extracurricular activities. All this is very important. So let us be a good role model to our kids. So kids don't grow up based on what we are communicating to them. They grow up looking at us, by watching us, what we are doing, what kind of language we are using. Parents are the first role model, there's no doubt about it. Father and mother are the first role models whom they look up to. So it's also important for us to keep ourselves upgraded and keep ourselves up to date rather than having a lag where we are not able to align with our kids. To be young at mind is very important. We cannot say I'm quite old or whatever it is and I'm not able to like I don't know what they're thinking. We have difference in wavelength or whatever. We cannot give that as a reason. We are in a compulsion to upgrade ourselves for the benefit of our students. I mean, it can be a student, it can be your own child, it can be any child whom you are responsible for. Quarreling in front of children, using bad language, such things some parents can avoid. And some people, it can be a party, family get together where they're exposed to alcohol, smoking in front of the child. No, they do that. There are some fathers who indulge in this kind of behavior, and some wives have brought this as a concern to me. பசங்க வளர்ந்துட்டாங்க, இப்போ போயிட்டு வந்து வீட்டில் டெய்லி வந்து சோலோ ட்ரிங்கிங் பண்ணிட்டு இருக்காரு. So he is telling me that I have a lot of work stress, madam. I'm in a very big, kind of like, I mean, I'm in a position where I'm taking very big responsibility. So I have my own stress. So this relief I will need is something which he is saying. But he's not understanding the fact that your child will know, your child will pretend like going into the bed, but wantedly, purposefully come out of the bedroom to watch and see what you're doing, because something some conspiracy is definitely interesting for that child. One time we say something, next time we give a different instruction and we confuse a child. Such things maybe we can avoid. Being always consistent and persistent on what we are communicating with the child is very important. Over pampering the child, providing all luxuries, providing all benefits will spoil the child definitely. Children from pushy backgrounds are not the ones who are with the best survival strategies. The children who are able to withstand a lot of difficulties, adapt themselves, mold themselves to the environment, they fight with life, and who are able to move forward are the ones who will withstand any kind of stressors which or challenges which they will face in the future, because they are already trained with problem solving, they are trained with coping mechanisms. So they might be able to handle it better than people whom are always spoon fed. Let them learn the fact that life is not a bed of roses. So when we are always overprotective, sometimes it also goes in the reverse way, that my parent will take care of it, whatever I want I can do, but I will enjoy my life the way I want to do. So that can also be an attitude that a child can develop. School counselor responsibilities. So, how a school counselor can help in this? So, some suggestions we were like giving, providing for parents. Similarly, as a school counselor, what responsibility can be taken? Establishing a rapport with a child. So, any child, without getting into that comfort zone, will not disclose what is happening in the child's life with the counselor, because it takes time for them. They talk about all that is happening on the surface, and to reach the root, the actual cause of what is happening, might take even 3 or 4 sessions for me. And depending on my credibility, depending on the trust the child has on me, the credibility is decided not by me but the child. The evaluation is done by the child. Children are smart enough. They will know the differentiation between good ma'am and bad ma'am. According to them, even if that good ma'am scolds them, they'll not get offended, because they feel that good ma'am will always will be protective of them and is their well wisher. That understanding they will know very clean. So sometimes there are some teachers who might exhibit negative behaviors or unhealthy patterns of behavior in the classroom for whatever reasons. It could be their personality, or they have some personal problem, or whatever, or they're not able to cope with children. They're not trained enough to handle the particular group of students. It can be anything, but they will wantedly teach them. Whatever they say, they will not listen. So that way they are very intelligent in judging the teacher or the counselor. So the child will decide the credibility and how trustworthy and how much of a safe place is it by meeting this particular counselor. And we explore in depth about whatever is happening, and we put on questions in a way that we are leading them to give us more information. We try to work with them. Let us work on this particular goal in this way. So every time you are able to achieve something, I'm giving you the necessary appreciation. But every time you're not able to make it, also when you're disappointed, I'm motivating you to, and I'm also giving you a change of action plan. So I'm there as a support system with you. You go ahead with your life. You will reach your goal. You will reach your destiny. And then, like helping the child find what their goal is, to help the child to decide on their careers and shift their focus on how they are supposed to mold their personalities in a way that they're going to fit there. We have an important role to play. Termination is when there a problem earlier existed. The child was exhibiting a certain kind of unhealthy pattern of behavior, which now the child is not exhibiting after a 1 year period of time of work with that particular child. So we take the case file and tell them, see Kana, when you came it was like this. Today this is how you are molded. I can see the difference in you, and I feel that you no more I'm going to call you for counseling for now. I'll see how you're working. If at all you need any help, you can get back to me at any time. So this is something we can. This is a positive closure. Sometimes it can be the other way also. Some children may not be. Very rarely, some children are not cooperative. For example, I told you cases of personality disorder. So maybe those children are not very cooperative. They are not participating in the process of counseling. When can the process of counseling be a success? Is only when the child or whoever it is, the client and the counselor work together for a progress, and they are able to see a change in the behavior, thoughts, feelings of that person. If there's an improvement, it is successful. If there is no improvement, then it is something for us to take into consideration. In my own experience, I feel that expressive arts therapy is something which can be used for children to easily get what they're thinking, to connect with them. It works as an breaker to connect with them, and whatever best works for them. And it's up to the therapist to decide by taking a client centered approach, to know what would be the best suitable for the client. So every child is different, and every child's issue or challenge they're facing is quite different. We cannot have the same plan for every child. So that's how it is. So like if anyone needs more information on expressive arts therapy, you can just send me a WhatsApp message. I can share some videos with you. Other than that, because it's time, I would like to get some quick feedback from you before we close. I just want to know what's your takeaway from the session. Yeah, anyone? What was your new takeaway, your understanding?
Ma'am.
Yes.
Today it was very comprehensive on child and behavioral modification, ma'am. So I got few tips on how I can actually work with a child who needs behavioral modification, and what basis I can take it up, what are the signs that I can look for. So these are few takeaways from this session now. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, sorry.
Nikanias, do you want to speak?
Yes, actually, thank you so much for your insightful session. I'm Nikhat, and I'm a part of an institution. And I was just happy to be part of this because it's reiterate what we do at our school. So it's highly individualized school. As you said, it's like not scoring marks and all. It's like highly individualized in taking care of children's personal needs, emotional needs, and physical and the social everything together. So time to time we will be offering these kind of sessions to children also. And for the basic level, the first one what we had in our school is a system called a complaint box. We have a complaint box in elementary children environment, boys and girls two segregated environment, and both of them having that complaint box in their environment. Complaint or suggestion, anything they can write it and put it over there against whoever it is. Like if this boy is pinching, that boy is hitting, this boy is saying bad word, or that boy is saying something, whatever it is, or they can show their gratitude also and suggestion related to environment also. So weekly once we get that one and it's very confidentially addressed between those two children. So in this way, it's not piling up and children getting resolved day to day in their time itself. And why it's weekly once? It's because we want them to ponder, think, not to react, not to respond in a way that immediately they get the results and all. That won't help. They have to have a patience. They have to have a hold on to their thoughts, and weekly once when it comes, by that time mostly it gets resolved amongst themselves itself.
Yes.
Or some comes and they need a little bit counseling and it goes. So this is how it works. Hope this will help to some others also, so that I can share this sharing. And thank you so much, Swati ma'am, for the wonderful session, and thank you Tahasim for sending me this link. I'm not aware of it.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, Abhilasha, ma'am, you wanted to say something.
Yes, ma'am. What I felt is whoever we are as an adult, no, like a parent or teacher, counselor, we are responsible for our children in our society, ma'am. நம்ம குழந்தை இல்ல நமக்கு என்ன அப்படிங்கிற மாதிரி இல்லாம each and every child should be taken care by our surrounding, like the media you said, school pressure, and the modules, what all is happening around the child is giving more pressure to them nowadays. So it was very valid and more informative, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. So, thank you, participants. For now, we will wind up. If you have further questions, please feel free to WhatsApp me. I would request our counseling students to stay back. The others can feel free to leave the forum. Thank you.